Hello, everyone. I'm Faith, and this is the Vita English Podcast. Welcome to the Vita English Podcast. You're listening to Language Stories. Language Stories is a series where listeners learn specific English skills through simple personal stories. In each episode, I'll focus on a different part of language as I tell my story. This podcast is for people who have a basic understanding of English but want to improve their fluency. Today, we are going to learn all about how to use future perfect progressive as I talk to you about my morning. How do you usually spend your Saturday mornings? If you work the typical Monday to Friday work week, I bet Saturday mornings mean sleeping in late and relaxing. If you work weekends, or if you do shift work, Saturdays may be like any other work day. For me, Saturday mornings are almost always the same. On Saturday mornings, I work on a new episode for this podcast. Today, I decided to go somewhere special to write this episode. Instead of working from home, I'm at my favorite cafe. I'm drinking black tea and I'm eating a chocolate chip cookie. The name of this cafe is called the Village Coffee House. I discovered this coffee shop about 2 years ago around Christmas time. So by December of this year, I will have been coming here as a regular customer for 2 years. I love having a regular coffee shop to go to. It's fun to get to know the staff and the menu. This cafe is a great little spot in a little community that's close to the beach. It's a fantastic place to work remotely because in the back of the cafe, there is a quiet area that overlooks a small pond. Right now, I am in a room full of other people who are working away on their devices. Do you know what it means when we talk about working remotely? Working remotely means doing your work from a place that is not your typical work office. For people who work in an office, this means working from home or from a cafe. Since I usually work from my home office, I can say I'm working remotely because I'm working at a cafe. Do you ever work remotely? Practice speaking in English by answering out loud. Or, if you're listening to this podcast on YouTube, leave your answer in the comments section below. Anyway, I'm working away at this coffee shop and I'm really enjoying this beautiful Saturday morning. By the time I publish this podcast, I will have been working on this series for 5 months. When I started out the series, I had no idea it would take so long. But it's finally almost coming to an end. Make sure you tune in next week for the review episode, where I'll share a story that includes all of the verb tenses. I'm going to wrap things up there. Stick around to hear an explanation of future perfect progressive and to get a chance to practice using this verb tense. In the story I just told, I used the future perfect progressive 2 times. Let's look at the different ways I used this verb tense. Number 1, to talk about an action that will be completed before a specific time in the future. Example, by December of this year, I will have been coming here as a regular customer for 2 years. So in this example, I'm looking to the future. I'm looking to December 2022, and I'm thinking, by December 2022, in a month or so, it will be 2 years since I started going to this cafe. So I'm using a future tense, and I'm talking about that duration of time. I will have been coming here as a regular customer for 2 years. So right now, I have been going to the cafe for less than 2 years, but I'm kind of looking at December as this important moment, this important date when I first found this cafe that I love so much. So I'm looking at that future date and I'm saying, by December, I will have been coming here as a regular customer for 2 years. Number 2, to talk about an action that will be completed before another action in the future. Example, by the time I publish this podcast, I will have been working on this series for 5 months. So in this example, I'm looking at 2 future events. One of the future events is that I'm going to publish this podcast. So I'm going to hit that publish button and send it out to the podcast world. But before that moment happens, when I hit publish, something else happens. It's almost simultaneously, but work with me here. By that time that I hit publish, I will have been working on this series for 5 months. So I'm talking about that duration. I'm looking at those 5 months. It hasn't been 5 months yet that I've been working on this podcast, but it will be. So by the time I hit publish, it will have been 5 months of work on this podcast. I will have been working on this series for 5 months. All right, now it's your turn. I want to give you a chance to practice using future perfect progressive. Try to answer these questions. Say your answers out loud. Remember to use future perfect progressive. Question number 1. By December, how long will you have been studying English? Question number 2. By the end of the year, how long will you have been working at your current job? Thanks for tuning in to the Vita English Podcast. Tune in to the next episode of Language Stories for the final episode on the 12 major English verb tenses. I will be telling one story that includes all of the verb tenses. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas for future episodes, or if you'd like information on taking one-on-one online English language classes, visit my website, www.vitaenglish.ca. That's www.vitaenglish.ca. Or email me at info@vitaenglish.ca. See you next time.